Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well and the week has been a good one for you guys. In this video we're going to be covering Painsmith Raznal. Now, Raznal's an interesting fight. Generally a lot of people see him as a very fun fight, but he is quite punishing for a Retribution Paladin. Not necessarily because any of his mechanics are overly challenging for us, but because it's about maximizing the amount of uptime we get and making the most of our burst windows, while at the same time we need to try and optimize our sustain, which is a weakness for a lot of paladins. The reason I say that is because this particular kill video, one of our fastest kill videos with the guild, for heroic at least, six minutes. Well, it was 6 minutes 8 seconds, roughly, and a lot of that is actually spent during the two intermissions, one at 70% health and one at 40% health, where you're just dancing around spikes, but we'll get onto that shortly. You then also have to contend with potentially being targeted by traps and having to dance around things and swapping target to deal with the spike balls and things like that. So it's very much about maximizing the amount of pressure you can do during the time you have Painsmith, because you actually have a lot less uptime than you'd think, despite it being a very small area. So let's swap to the main screen for this one, and we will start up. So usual Blood Elf shenanigans at the start. Nothing really to worry about there. Pre-Arcane Torrenting for the extra Holy Power as we go into it. And just popping cooldowns. We do have a third tank for this, because it was a social raid, and they were just here to loot share, so instantly jumped off. Which meant that I could have held my wings slightly longer, but I just didn't. I'll be honest, I was playing normally. Here is slightly problematic with me being one of the few melee DPS. I was prioritizing trying to help with the spike ball, because sometimes the ranger are a little bit slow on it, which does mean that some of the damage that could have been on Painsmith was wasted. Now, here was a bit of an odd call because we weren't given a direction to run, so I tried to correct, but you just need to worry about those traps. Phase 2 and Phase 3 is when trap placement becomes really important. This start phase is just really kind of tank and spank for the most part. Thankfully, they did make a change to the... Actually, pause it a second. Right. Go back 10 seconds. Right, this is something that really goes into cooldown usage, and it's something that I did discuss in the raid thing. One thing that we can do as paladins to essentially push our damage up a little bit higher is how we make use of our every other Final Reckoning on 1 minute segments while the boss is up, because you can see that I have Final Reckoning about to come off, and these spike balls have been pulled. So I try and get it so that they're within range of both the boss and the spike balls. So I stand in the middle because the macro I use for my Final Reckoning, and I detonate it. I try and put as much damage as I can into the spike ball and the boss at the same time, using my Execution Sentence and Divine Toll as well. So I use all my 1 minute cooldowns, and you will see that I will continuously try to use that to the benefit of the group and my own DPS as time goes on. Because when I was doing this as a progression fight, that was actually a substantial amount of damage towards helping kill the spike ball before it killed the raid. Now we have a lot more people using it to help cleave, or we've got destruction warlocks that are doing it and things like that. But that's something that you need to be wary of. This intermission phase is pretty straightforward in that it's just dodge the spikes. Dodge the spikes, dodge the fire. You could use Cavalier for this fight. This fight is actually very good for Cavalier because you may need it if you don't have Shamans with the speed totem, but again, something to consider. Now, this particular stage of the fight becomes a little bit more hectic. You can see that we've got to dodge spikes while we're fighting, and the spike balls are summoned. You can see I swap much sooner to this and just single target. And that's because we have chains, and the chains knock people backwards, so you need to try and make sure that there is space for those people. Now, these spikes that are being spawned, you can see, once you're given a trap, you actually need to get into the corner that your tank was in, because these spikes are now transitioning across the room, and by the time the traps come out, you actually only have half the room left to place them in. unless you go to the other side, because those spikes will detonate the traps. So you need to be very, very quick on that. If you're targeted with traps, you need to get to that corner. Wherever your tank was, jump over the spikes, detonate. And that's fine. And you can see that the spike balls are about to come in. I've got minutes. So we Seraphim, we hold, and then we Final Reckoning. Execution Sentence goes down, Divine Toll, and you can see that we did quite a lot of damage, and we jumped back up to the top. What we should have probably done was hold Seraphim a second or two there, just so we got more benefit from it. But also we had one of the socials die, which gave us wings, and this is another reason why using Retribution Aura, if you can, as a Retribution Paladin, is beneficial, because we get the wings. Now, one thing to note is this intermission phase. I have 3 Holy Power. I am holding it for when the boss arrives, but what I could do while this wings is up, I could be Flash of Lighting the group, because we're still taking dot damage. You can see that we've got a couple of Warlocks that are low. We've got, like, I'm kind of I'm relatively healthy, but that's because I have used Potion and I have used a health cookie, or a health stone. So we're now in the final phase. Bloodlust's about to come, and we've got our 2 minutes again. So our 2 minute phases work fantastically with the cadence of this fight. Every time the boss comes down, we have our wings, which is good, and we can use our 1 minute in between that. So we essentially get wings at the start of each phase, and are 1 minute towards the end of each phase. And this final segment is just a race. You can see here that I got bopped by the chains. So if we just go back another 10 seconds, I dance out in a second, and Star boops me because they stepped into me and then blinked through the group. Thankfully, I'd held Divine Shield, otherwise I was dead. Bop would have also saved me, potentially. But, yeah, Divine Shield. Now, this is another trap thing. You can see they step over the spikes. So now the traps are placed there, and the tank can pop them at their leisure, because we have time for that. Now, I pop Shield of Vengeance just to help with the reducing damage, because we're at 16 stacks, and we're taking quite a lot of damage. I do actually believe I lay on hands in a moment. Yep. Here it comes. There we go. And that's to reduce the amount of healing taken on me. Now, the spike balls are a ways off yet, and the call was to just burn the boss, but then the call was changed. So I didn't use Final Reckoning when I should have. By my own merit, I should have waited until the spike balls were closer and then smashed it, but the call was to burn Painsmith, and then that wasn't the case. Now, we run out. We do the traps again, and then we run back in. And we do the final bit of damage. So, yeah, Painsmith, pretty good. Pretty fun fight. When you talk to a lot of other people, there's a lot going on, but there's a cadence to it, which is quite nice. A couple of changes in Mythic means that you will actually have things to do during that intermission, like you will have more things to dodge. So again, Cavalier might be more useful going into Mythic, and if you guys want to see the Mythic once my guild's there, I will happily record that for you guys. But yeah, that is Painsmith. Hopefully you guys liked it. Please comment, like, and subscribe below. It would mean a lot to me. And I will catch you all in the next one. Take care, folks.